So when we think about the best gaming mice for competitive first-person shooters, brands like Logitech and Zowie are usually the first to come to mind, but today we have a new contender, and their first offering to the gaming community is seriously good, like unbelievably good. The glorious Model O has a classic ambidextrous shape, it's only 67 grams, has a super light cord, beautifully light buttons, and is only $49. So let's get into the review. We'll talk about everything you need to know in detail, and how it compares to other popular light gaming mice like the G Pro Wireless and G305. So Glorious, this is their first gaming mouse, and they typically make keyboards and mouse pads and things like that. So how do they get it so right on the first go? Well, they've basically studied what the gaming community really wants in a gaming mouse for competitive shooters, studied the top gaming mice that are out there that people are buying, and made exactly that. So you could think of the Model O as this sort of amalgamation of a few of the top gaming mice that are out there, so in some way it does lack originality. Of course though, there are only so many ways that you can make a gaming mouse, and I do believe the Model O is different enough from the competition. So let's start with the shape, and here Glorious have played it very safe. The Model O shape is near identical to the Zowie FK1. The FK1 is extremely popular among competitive CS players, so there's no reason that those players won't love the Model O as well. This makes it a medium to large sized mouse, which I feel will be the sweet spot for the majority of hand sizes. Most users will be able to adapt to the Model O quite well. My hands are 19.5 by 10.5 centimeters, and I find the Model O perfect for a fingertip grip. Like I said, this is a very safe shape, and I feel like most people will be able to adapt to the Model O and find it quite comfortable. The sensor here is the PMW 3360, which it shares with the FK1, so an excellent sensor choice here. You're not going to have any issues with spinouts or missed tracking. So once the Model O hype dies down a little, I'd love to see Glorious throw some R&D at a smaller model next, as those who prefer smaller mice and a claw grip might find the Model O a bit large. Now I've got the matte black version here, and the coating feels super nice. My hands tend to sweat during long gaming sessions, and I had no issues with grip here at all. It does come in a glossy model also, as well as the option for white. The honeycomb cutouts might cause some durability concerns over the long term with dust and skin particles, although of course it does help Glorious hit that weight target of just 67 grams. The PCB is exposed to the elements, so it'll be very interesting to see how this does over time as well. I would almost call these cutouts iconic, except this idea was taken from Final Mouse, although I doubt many of us really have a problem with that given how expensive and hard to find their mice are. One feature that is really odd to see on a competitive gaming mouse though is RGB lighting. At first I kind of scoffed at this feature, seeing as I don't really care about lighting, and if the Model O didn't have RGB it would be a few grams lighter. The fact is though that Glorious needed to put RGB on the Model O to make it different enough from the competition. As I'm suggesting, the Model O is a bit of a hybrid between the Zowie FK1 and the Final Mouse Ultralight series, and without RGB lighting it honestly just looks like a Final Mouse clone. So say what you will about the RGB, but it is necessary for the identity of the Model O. Overall, the lighting is extremely balanced and diffused quite well, and you can change the lighting effects and the color with the Model O software. You've got the choice of a couple different breathing and wave effects. You can also choose a static color if you want, as well as just plain disabling it. Now, something that I'm personally really fanatic about when it comes to gaming mice are the buttons. I can't stand heavy, loud buttons, and I refuse to use mushy scroll wheels, so when it came to the Model O, I was really afraid that this would be one of these common downfalls. So here I'm going to compare the Model O to the Logitech G Pro Wireless. Personally, I think that mouse has perfect light clicks. So clicks are slightly heavier, but overall still pretty light and easy to press. The scroll wheel is also light to press, pretty stable as well, but the steps feel just a little less defined in comparison. And the two side buttons are also light to press with minimal travel. If you squeeze the sides of the mouse hard enough, you can actually actuate the backside button, but when holding the mouse properly, this is pretty hard to do. DPI shift button is quite small and right between the left and right mouse button, and by default these levels are set to 400, 800, 1600 and 3200 with separate LED indicators for all. You can customize these levels within the software as well as add an additional 2 DPI levels. You can also change X and Y independently and customize the color for each level. So the skates on the Model O are simply awesome. These are their G skates, plenty of glide on a decent pad, and nice and thick with rounded edges as well. The best part about the skates is that you can buy identical replacements from Glorious for just $7, so over time if they do wear out, you can just buy the same set without a hassle. Now let's talk about the weight, which is one of the main selling points of the Model O, and at just 67 grams it is significantly lighter than the majority of mice on the market, even those used at the highest level. Recently we've seen really light wireless mice from Logitech in the form of the 80 gram G Pro wireless, and also the G305, which you can get down to just 84 grams with a battery swap. So after using both of those mice extensively as my main mice, I can say that the Model O does feel noticeably lighter. As I've said previously, switching to a lighter mouse isn't going to make you instantly better. In fact, it's likely going to make your aim worse in the beginning until you adapt. If you're currently using a mouse around the 90 gram mark or higher, you'll likely need to lower your in-game sensitivity a bit to compensate for the lower resistance. When pairing the Model O with a fast pad like the Logitech G640, this mouse moves with extremely low resistance. So if you're planning on grabbing the Model O, I'd highly consider a large mouse pad and a low in-game sensitivity, as that way you're fully utilizing the main feature of this mouse, which is the low weight. Now one thing many of you are probably wondering is the cord, and whether it's as good as playing wirelessly. The answer is almost. It's pretty close. If you play with a mouse bungee, you're pretty much there, but given how light the cable is, you can actually get by without a bungee. So although the cord looks heavy and thick, it's made of a shoelace material and it's mostly hollow, so it is really light. It's only with those really fast flicks that you can sort of notice that cord banging around a bit. Otherwise, it's amazing, and I don't think anyone's going to be bothered by it. It's only if you've been spoiled by wireless mice like myself, it might take you a few days to adjust. So the Logitech G305 is my usual main, but after using the Glorious Model O, I'm definitely going to keep this mouse on my desk for a bit longer. The weight of just 67 grams feels absolutely phenomenal. Flicks and fast movement feel intuitive and confident. The only thing that I'm adjusting to personally is the larger shape, since I am used to smaller mice. So it'll be really interesting to see what Glorious do next, and how they transition from the Model O to their next mouse. I personally really hope they make something just a little bit smaller for those who prefer, a smaller mouse with a claw grip. They have really hit the nail here with the Model O though, and the fact that this is just $49 really blows my mind. Like other reviewers have said, they could easily be charging $100 plus for this thing, given the current gaming mouse market. So there's my review of the Model O, and hopefully that helped you guys out. If you are interested in picking one up, I will have them linked down in the description. I will be keeping this one on my desk for everyday use, editing, and of course gaming sessions. As I said, this thing is an absolute delight to use. As always guys, a huge thanks for watching. Consider subscribing down below if you haven't already, and I will see you all on the next one.